What's going on, my dudes? Welcome in if this is your first time, and welcome back if you're a repeat offender. What we're doing today is part two of a two-part video. We're doing a tier list on Beatles albums from two different perspectives. We have a guest tier list person thing going on today. So stay tuned for some interesting conversation about everyone's favorite band, The Beatles. I'm Johnny, this is Channel 910, and here's your intro music. Alright, so what you see over here is the leftover tier list from the last show, given to us by none other than Parallax. Joining me from down the hall, yes, this is my son. He is going to be giving the perspective of a young Beatles fan. This was his list from the last video. If you have not seen that video, check it out right up here or down in the description. I'll drop a link down there as well as a link to Parallax's YouTube channel as well. If you like video games, if you like Geometry Dash, that's the place to go and check it out. Give him a subscribe, like the videos, check it out, guys. That's Parallax over here on YouTube. But right now, he's a guest at Channel 910, and what we're going to be looking at here in part two or what I like to call Beatles bonus albums. So what you see over here are the studio albums per the UK catalog. This is UK Beatles canon. So these 12 records are ranked according to Parallax and his opinion. I also gave my opinion. Go to the last video to see it, because if I try to show you now, it's going to give away my picks for today's tier list, and I don't want him seeing that and getting any ideas, right? So what he's done is rank them as he likes them, as he feels that they are important to him as a new listener. I, as an old geezer of a Beatles fan, have done my own tier list as to what I think a young listener should be engaging with to get the best Beatles experience. Now, what's a bonus Beatles album? If these are studio albums, the bonus stuff is the non-studio album stuff. You're talking live albums, compilations, remix albums, any kind of rarity that I feel really needs to be part of this conversation. There are going to be some albums that are not on this bonus list because there's just too many. So if you were wanting to see rock and roll music, if you were wanting to see love songs, if you were wanting to see a collection of oldies but goldies, it's not going to be on this list. Maybe we do that another day, but I have focused in on 11 or 12, depending on how you look at it, 11 main Beatles bonus titles. We'll get into those after, unless you want to start off with any kind of comments to begin. Not at all. All right, we're jumping right in. Beatles bonus albums. A lot of people don't consider this one to be a bonus album. They consider it to be part of Beatles canon, and it kind of is depending on how you look at it. But we were looking at the UK releases, and in the UK, this was not an album, it was an EP. We are talking about Magical Mystery Tour. In the UK, this originally came out as two 7-inch singles, I guess you would say. The United States, however, did put this onto a big whopping LP. So they took everything that was on this EP, stuck it on here, and added some singles on. So what you're getting here, Magical Mystery Tour, the title track, The Fool on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, I Am the Walrus, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, and All You Need Is Love. So the side two, that's where your singles come in. Hello Goodbye was technically the B side or the double A side for I Am the Walrus, but Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, those are from the Sgt. Pepper sessions. Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love was another single from 1967. What I have here as well, and we'll talk about this, there's multiple versions of this record. Okay? So once Parallax gives us his thoughts, we'll talk about the difference in these and what I think about that. But for right now, because it's easier to hold, I'm going to use this one. So Magical Mystery Tour, what are your thoughts?
Me personally, I would consider this as kind of a studio album. Kind of.
Okay.
It has...
And I will say, fair enough, because you got it right here. So it is an album.
But it's not canon to the UK or the list.
I'll point out, none of the albums on this video are canon, so...
Yeah. So, Magical Mystery Tour has some of my favorite songs. Is kind of like Sgt. Pepper's. It's really good, has really good consistency, has my favorite, well, I say my favorite songs, but some of my favorite songs on there. So, personally, I would rank this high S, below Sgt. Pepper's, but above Rubber Soul for me.
Wow, okay. So, and I will say, I did not tell him there was any kind of correlation with Sgt. Pepper with this. These did come from the same year. I have always kind of thought that Magical Mystery Tour is the weird cousin to Sgt. Pepper. So, and a lot of people might argue that the songs on here are actually stronger than Pepper.
No.
To each their own. So, what are the differences here? Well, this being the UK, this is the OG Magical Mystery Tour. In mono, 2 7-inch EP is great. If you want the US version, you're getting kind of exactly the same thing with a few extra songs added in there. Nice big sleeve. This one also came with a book on the inside, just like the 7-inch, but a much bigger version of the book. If you are crazy collector, this is the version of this album you want. This is the German Hortzu press. The stereo copies of this one tend to not sound really that great. The Germans wanted a really nice stereo version of this album, so they ended up with making this one back in around 1972. You cannot go wrong with this album. So, we move on to the next thing on the list of bonuses. We're going to go way back in time and look at the Star Club from Hamburg, Germany. These are all recordings from 1962. This really old live material. This is kind of like the birth of the Beatles. You're going to get a lot of cover songs, and it's not the best quality of recordings, but it is what it is. If you want to know where the Beatles came from and what they sounded like in the very, very early years, this is a great example. Live in Hamburg, Germany, 1962. What are your thoughts?
On preferences, I don't care for it because it's really early, and I do tend to like more of their mid to late stuff. Since probably looking at it at his perspective, I would maybe think it'd be a good one to kind of start off with, to like maybe like know like what their origins were, their first like played songs, I guess you could say.
Yeah, all these are covers. I was just looking at it, and you have all cover songs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so, and like I said in part one, I'm not really a big fan of their cover songs, even though they do the songs better than the original artists. So, in my opinion, I would maybe, this may sound crazy, but I may put this in C tier, in my opinion.
Okay. So we're going C with Live in Hamburg. So there we go. So now the next one we're doing is kind of a cheat, kind of not. It's actually going to be 2 albums, but you'll see where I'm going with this. This is Live at the BBC 1 and 2. Okay? So on air, live, these are from between 1962 and 1965. A lot of covers again. some originals as well. They mix it all in there. But this was the Beatles at the BBC. It's a hefty set. Each one of these is 3 LPs. So you're talking 6 discs worth of stuff here. BBC Volume 1, Volume 2. I'm putting them together because it's all from the BBC. Any thoughts on this? You hold that one, I'll hold this one.
Alright, so I feel like with these, let me tilt it. I feel like with these, they're, in my opinion, they're maybe around the same tier level as with the Beatles and Beatles for Sale, but I would say that this would probably be a little better. Reason being is because it was done live, which was pretty impressive, right?
I mean, yes.
Yeah. And would be really cool for people living back then whenever the Beatles were making music. So I would say it goes between Help and Beatles for Sale.
All right. So BBC all landing on You Don't Realize How Much I Need You, also known as the B tier. So, all right. Get these. I'll tell you, the bonus records, a lot more records to deal with here. I probably should have done CDs. So, okay, this next one, also sort of a cheat, but not really. We're looking at Live at the Hollywood Bowl, also known as 8 Days a Week. There's your original Live at the Hollywood Bowl. And this is from the film Ron Howard did, 8 Days a Week. It is essentially the same album. The blue cover here does include 4 new bonus live tracks on it. But essentially same record, which is why I have both of them here. So since I'm older, I'll hold the old one, you hold the new one. Live at the Hollywood Bowl.
It's kind of the same as the Hamburg one. I would say it may be a little better. Mainly being because Hollywood Bowl is more of the later, well, I say later stuff. Because Hamburg was at like the very start of their career.
Yes.
But the Hollywood Bowl is more towards whenever they released like Rubber Soul, maybe?
Help, really,
okay.
Yeah, is kind of the tour we're talking about. Twist and Shout, She's a Woman, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, Ticket to Ride, that was from Help. Can't Buy Me Love, Things We Said Today, Roll Over Beethoven, Boys, Hard Day's Night, Help, All My Lovin', She Loves You, Long Tall Sally. So we're talking 1965. Mm-hmm. So it was pre Rubber Soul.
And so this on their live performance, you could say that they perform like more of their greatest hits, you could say.
I mean, more or less.
Yeah. So that kind of puts it higher, but I would say that it goes. It's not yet like. I wouldn't say it would be better than the studio albums per se, but I would say it goes above BBC.
Okay, so we're talking right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's Live at the Hollywood Bowl, and we're moving on to one that we talked about. We hinted at this one in the first video, and I couldn't begin to think exactly which one we're maybe about to talk about. Anyway.
My childhood favorite.
In the town where I was born, Yellow Submarine. Now, what is the difference in this and the one that's right next to Abbey Road up there? The Yellow Submarine soundtrack. This is the song track. So what this is in 1999, the Beatles decided to release an album that actually has the entire soundtrack from the movie Yellow Submarine. So whereas the album that you see from the studio has the new studio tracks and George Martin's orchestral songs. Granted, they were all in the movie, but it was only the new stuff. So the movie Yellow Submarine recycles songs from, I want to say maybe Rubber Soul, definitely Revolver, definitely Sgt. Pepper. There's some stuff. Well, I'll tell you what's on this. Yellow Submarine, Hey Bulldog, Eleanor Rigby, Love You Too, All Together Now, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Think for Yourself, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with a Little Help from My Friends, Baby You're a Rich Man, Only a Northern Song, All You Need Is Love, When I'm 64, Nowhere Man, and It's All Too Much. So, a very eclectic mix of songs from that mid-Beatles era that got put on this Yellow Submarine song track. So, that being said, in opposition to the original soundtrack to the movie, where would you put the Yellow Submarine song track?
Maybe I could hold it.
Okay.
Since I said that this was my childhood favorite album, and since the original studio album, which it is a studio album, right?
Correct.
Okay. I would rank it higher than the studio album only because it has more songs and more songs that I like. Even though it's not the original, you could say, right?
No, it's not. It's from 1999.
Yeah.
But it does take the original soundtrack from the movie, the song track.
Yeah. So, and like most people say, old is gold. So.
And I will say it is remixed too. So they actually took it and remixed it to where the songs sound better than they did back in the mid-'60s. So there is that too. It is not the original version of the songs.
Mm-hmm. And I would, because I have a little bit of bias with Yellow Submarine, it does go high on the list for me. This may be a little bit of a shocker for you, but I would rank this. Honestly, I would say most of these are songs that I know by heart.
Mm-hmm.
It has, you could say, most of the songs on Sgt. Pepper's.
It has quite a few. You got Sgt. Pepper with a Little Help, Lucy in the Sky, When I'm 64. So yeah, you've got a good selection from Sgt. Pepper on there.
Yeah. So, honestly, I feel like this is like number one.
Number one overall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, the sergeant does not want to leave his post. There we go.
Now, like I said, I do have a little bit of a bias.
Look, that's, that is perfectly fine. I had for those of you, if you haven't gone back to look at part one, when we talked about the studio albums, I actually have in my list Sgt. Pepper as my number one studio album, because that is the album that was the first Beatles album I ever listened to. It's the album that made me fall in love with music, not just the Beatles. So there's always going to be bias in these lists.
Mm-hmm.
I will die on that hill for Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
That's my number one.
Yeah,
so.
and for studio albums, it is also on the top of my list, probably.
So, we move on. Speaking of studio albums, over here you've got up top, Let It Be is on the top line. In 2004, I think it was that this came out, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, when it came out, it had no clothes on. It was naked. Let It Be Naked is the alternate version of Let It Be. This is the version that, according to Paul McCartney, that they wanted to release. It's more stripped down. It doesn't have all of the orchestral flair and the choir singers that Phil Spector put on the 1970 version. So, Let It Be Naked. What are your thoughts on this one? You can hold it if you want.
All right. So
We're starting a new thing where he holds the records now.
I feel like with Let It Be Naked, it's below Let It Be, only because that with Let It Be, I love the orchestral part of all the songs. You could say it puts more life into the song.
Okay.
And like you said, this version would be more of what George Martin would have put out with the Beatles.
Correct. I think you're right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, and this would be more or less more of the type Beatles style.
Correct. According to Paul, this is what the Beatles wanted. So difficult to say because by the time this came out, we didn't even have John Lennon anymore to argue the fact. So it is what it is. So where do you think you would put Naked?
Honestly, I'm not sure because I haven't listened to the album too much. I'm assuming it has most of the songs on Let It Be.
Yes, it's almost the same track listing, minus some of the intermission type stuff. I think Don't Let Me Down is on that one rather than just being a B-side on the single. Yeah. So yeah, it's relatively the same record, just very stripped.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure, and later I might change this, but I'm gonna put it above Yellow Submarine, but below Abbey Road.
Okay, so we're going on the act you've known for all these years. Okay, so still pretty top heavy, which is fine. We've got Let It Be Naked going on the A tier, act you've known for all these years. I will say, this album, if you're interested in hearing it, you can always stream it or try to find the CD. The album, the vinyl release of this is very hard to find. It's very expensive. You can get a lot of a similar feel to the songs that are on this if you want it on vinyl by getting the Let It Be Anniversary box set. Because a lot of this type stuff, the alternate versions, are in that box set. And it's actually, the box set's cheaper than this one record. So, Let It Be Naked. And I kind of cheated. I didn't get both of them, but they are both in here. This is the Red and Blue. I am not even going to begin to talk about all the songs that are on here because the track listing, there it is.
There's a lot.
That's a lot of music on this this record. This is the 2023 version that comes with some extra material, and it's all remixed, remastered. But what is known as the Red and Blue albums, also by their official titles, 1962 to 1966 and 1967 to 1970. These are kind of in everyone's collection as far as Beatles fans go. So, your thoughts on Red and Blue?
This is a little heavy.
It's...
Personally, I haven't listened to the albums themselves, but judging by the album cover, Red is mostly their earlier stuff and Blue is their later stuff.
Correct.
And
basically, the Red album runs up to Revolver, and the Blue album starts with Sgt. Pepper and goes to the end. Which is kind of goes back to what I was talking earlier about the first, like, early Beatles and later Beatles and it being split down the middle. This is kind of the definition of split down the middle, Red and Blue.
Red and Blue mostly has, like, their greatest hits.
If you can even narrow down greatest hits from the Beatles. But yes, if you know a song, it is probably on this set.
Okay, so, I would, because it has most of the recognizable songs on here, it's kind of hard to rank it. Because, like the White Album, there's a lot of songs.
There are. And something we haven't talked about with the studio albums that we did earlier, those are just the studio albums. The Beatles also had a lot of singles that were never on their studio albums. So when you're talking about songs like Strawberry Fields, Forever, Penny Lane, Hey Jude, the rock version of Revolution, Lady Madonna, I Wanna Hold Your Hand, She Loves You, those were never on any of the records that are over here. So they were only singles. The Red and the Blue actually includes a lot of album cuts and singles, so you're getting them both on the same set.
Okay, yeah. I like, by common sense, you should put this at the top of your list, more or less, because it has like all the singles, you could say.
There's a lot of them.
Which most of their singles are really good. And has most of their greatest hits. So I would, like I said, it's kind of hard to rank this. Probably below Magical Mystery, above Rubber Soul.
Okay, so we're going top tier. All right. I know some of them have gone behind my screen, so we'll remove the screens towards the end of the video so you can see the whole list. But okay, so Red and Blue, top tier, kind of smashed in the middle right now. All right. Okay, so we were talking about singles, which is a great segue into past masters. So this is a collection. It is 2 LPs. Collection of pretty much all, minus a couple, the Beatles singles with the B-sides. So you'll get stuff like Love Me Do, but the B-side was From Me to You, which is on here. She Loves You, which was back with Thank You Girl. Long Tall Sally with I Call Her Your Name. Day Tripper with We Can Work It Out. You get the idea. So all of the singles that the Beatles released, you had 2 sides. Both the sides end up being on here, minus a couple, like Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane's not on this. All You Need Is Love and Baby You're a Rich Man, not on this. But you get most of them on here. So past masters, focusing mainly on the singles. What do you think?
Alright, past masters is mainly singles, like you said. And like I said, their singles are really good. Some are even my personal favorite songs. And I would probably rank this near the top also.
So when we talk about Beatles singles, you're talking about quite a few of them. So the Beatles released a lot of singles.
And they're all right there.
Yeah, they're listed here on the sheet. So lots of singles.
Yeah.
Because back in the 60s, it was common practice to not put any singles on the record. Singles and albums were 2 separate things.
Yeah.
So, because the idea was like, why should we release a single and then put it on the album? Now you're having to buy it twice. We should make it unique. And that's what they did for a lot of their discography. So in '88, when this came out, it was kind of a collection of the majority of what you get in single form. So where do you think this lands for you?
So it's mostly a compilation of their singles, right?
Correct.
And I would, because I like their singles a lot, personally, I would rank Past Masters, I'd say, it's kind of hard. We're gonna put it below Magical Mystery, above Red and Blue.
Wow, we're going top line again.
Again.
A lot of top line. To give you kind of a quick view, we still have all those back there. So, at the end of the video, I'll remove the two screens here and give you a better view of what we're looking at.
Yep. Now, this record is one of probably my second favorite bonus LPs.
So this is One. Came out 2015? Sounds right. What this is a collection of everything that was a number one on the charts, number one for the Beatles. So, for instance, the song Strawberry Fields Forever made it to number 2. It's not on this record. Penny Lane made it to number 1, so it's on here. This is 2 LPs chock full. You got Love Me Do, For Me to You, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love, Hard Day's Night, I Feel Fine, 8 Days a Week, Ticket to Ride, Help, Yesterday, Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out, Paperback Writer, Yellow Sub, Eleanor Rigby, Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love, Hello Goodbye, Lady Madonna, Hey Jude, Get Back, The Ballad of John and Yoko, Something, Come Together, Let It Be, and The Long and Winding Road. What do you think? It's all the number ones.
All the number ones, but there are a few of my favorites that are not on here, which kind of lower it a little bit.
This is
Not by much.
This is kind of the theme with Beatles compilations. For most people, there's always going to be, it's like, if it only had this 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many Beatles comps.
One is like one of
One is one of the ones that just one's the one out of my one.
One is one of my favorite bonus LPs. It has all really good songs and all songs that I'm familiar of because they were all top 1 on the charts. It's also kind of hard to rank this because you have things like Past Masters up top, Red and Blue. I'm gonna rank this again in S tier probably.
Okay.
Above Magical Mystery this time.
Okay.
But below Sgt. Pepper.
All right. So right here. All right. Beatles 1, making it to turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. All right, so we go from one that was a really red cover to one that is a really yellow. This is Love. So what this is another compilation, but it's a remix album. Think mashups, okay? Think not necessarily like we've remixed it to take out the reverb and add some stereo effects. No. They literally meld Beatles songs together in the Love album, which was the soundtrack for the Cirque du Soleil show from Las Vegas. Ran for about 20 years. Again, you're talking a lot of tracks on here. So it is 2 LPs worth of songs. A lot of these on here are actually combinations of 2, 3, sometimes even 4 songs in one. So I will pass it over to you, and you can talk about your thoughts on Love.
Me and Dad have listened to Love like an hour before recording this, you could say, or like maybe 2 hours. There are some really good songs on here, and there's some songs that will mash up with other of my favorite songs. For example, in one of the songs, I think it's on the back, Lady Madonna mashes up with Hey Bulldog, which is, I think, one of his favorites as well.
Probably my favorite track on that album. The way that they mix that is just phenomenal.
Yeah, so honestly, it's a good album. It's not on the top, but it is a really good album.
Okay.
This'll go in A tier actually.
Okay.
This is gonna go above Let It Be Naked. and Below Abbey Road. So right there.
All right.
It's good.
So there we go. This is Love, Cirque du Soleil. All right. We are down to the last bonus album. Now this one is getting a reissue. I've already got it on pre-order. It'll be in late November. I am talking, of course, about the initially released in 1995 and 1996, the Beatles Anthology, which is originally a 3-part series. Now it's getting a 4th part, so you're going to have the Anthology Part 4 to add to these. I actually bit the bullet and just got the whole new box set. It comes with a nice slip case for the outside and some remix material from this. This is a collection of outtakes and studio alternates and just all kinds of weird rarities, including, at the time, these albums had the first new Beatles songs that I got to hear in my lifetime. So I was born well after the Beatles broke up. In 1995, they released Free as a Bird, and then in 96, they release Real Love. Those are the first 2 new Beatles songs to be released in my lifetime. Now, luckily, for my son, he's gotten to hear Now and Then, which is a new Beatles song in his lifetime, which will be on Anthology 4 as well. They're remixing the 2, Free as a Bird and Real Love, and they're adding it in with Now and Then. So you're going to get a nice new remix version of those songs all together on one album, being Anthology 4. So talking about the Anthology series, and you can hold 3.
I'm not going to be...
And then you have 2 and 1. So you put all these together and they make a mural.
Oh, here. Let me do this.
So
yeah, so like this.
So yeah, that it's absolutely not the way it needs to look because of the way our screens are, but yes, it is a mural that all goes together. But he'll just hold that one, I'll hold this one to represent all of Anthology. What are your thoughts on this massive set?
I feel Anthology is like the final touch to I could say a band's career, and I feel like the Beatles did a good job making these three. Can't wait to hear Anthology 4, and it's mainly like these are mainly like, you could say like remixes, kind of.
More rarities. They're all the alternate takes. So you'll have songs on here that you're familiar with, but it's maybe the acoustic demo version, or take 12 when they ended up keeping take 17 or something like that. So it's just kind of a more of an insight into, the Beatles that you didn't hear on the studio albums. So each one of these, 3 LPs, 3 LPs, 3 LPs. The new one that's coming out, the Anthology 4, also 3 LPs. So that's a lot of vinyl to go through on these. A lot of songs. So quite a bit on this set here. And yeah, it's all, some of it can be kind of rough. Some of it's very eye-opening. There's some covers that are on here that were not on any of the albums. You also get stuff like the Quarrymen. So you're getting, like, In Spite of All the Danger, all that really early stuff from really before the Beatles, actually. So very insightful collection to expand your Beatle knowledge. So thoughts on Anthology and where you think this should rank?
And I'll rank this on like how it sounds and all that. So Anthology is kind of hard to rank as well. I would say it would go in A tier. I'd say above Love and below Abbey Road.
Yeah, so it's going pretty high.
Yeah, because there are, like you said, there are like versions of their songs, and I guess takes that that they had kept and they put on these albums.
Okay, so there you go. That's Anthology. We're looking at all three as being one thing, and hopefully, the addition of Volume 4 doesn't detract. I couldn't see how it would. It may just make this an even better set to have the fourth volume in there. So, Anthology as a set, he has on the act you've known for all these years. So, when we look at taking away me, taking away both of us, there is how Parallax sees the Beatles studio and what we call bonus albums. Nothing in the bottom tier. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, we'll come back for a second, and I will pull up my list. So there you go. Get a mental picture of what we've got so far. This is a younger fan's views, and now the views from a crusty old Beatles fan, and what I think the young folks should be listening to. This is how I ranked it. So, why is it ranked the way that it is? And here's how I'll explain it. So, we talked about the studio albums, and I have Sgt. Pepper and Hard Day's Night because I think that those two albums are a good representation of early Beatles, late Beatles. Those are my top tier for the studio albums. Now, I added Love and Red and Blue to the top. Now, why those two? So, Red and Blue is easier to explain. Red and Blue has a ton of what you need. If you're looking for what I consider the best comprehensive compilation of Beatles material, it's on Red and Blue. Everything that's on Red and Blue is on one, and almost everything that's on Past Masters is also on Red and Blue. So the other two big compilations are pretty much in the Red and Blue as well. So that, I think, if you were to have just that compilation, you would cover pretty much everything that you need. Love is up there because I think it's a unique listen, and I think it's unique for younger ears. It has a more modern feel with the remixing of the songs, and it gives you, within those two LPs, a lot of exposure to a lot of different Beatles material, because it's got everything from I Want to Hold Your Hand all the way up to Hey Jude and I Want You, She's So Heavy. It's got everything. So I think it's a great composite of what the Beatles were, set to a kind of a different tone. Now, a lot of people are going to look at it and say it's absolutely not even a Beatles album. It's just a big remix. But, it's still Beatles material, and it's still Giles Martin, son of George Martin, that's producing it. I can't fault it, really. It's a fantastic listen. Now, again, on the act you've known for all these years, or the A tier for me, we had, you see the first three are the studio albums. I put Magical Mystery as in general. I think the German pressing that we talked about earlier, this is the one you want, but as material goes, Magical Mystery Tour is definitely A tier, act you've known for all these years. And I put Past Masters on there as well, because there are a handful of songs on Past Masters that are not on the Red and Blue. So going to Past Masters to get that extra bit of the singles, I think is good for the new listener. Now we're down in the middle with You Don't Realize How Much I Need You, kind of the B tier. Now I had Let It Be, Rubber Soul, and Please Please Me there. I threw the Yellow Submarine song track in there only because if you're getting that Red and Blue album, you're getting almost everything that's on the Yellow Submarine song track. almost everything. So, but I still think it's good for what it is, which is why it still lands somewhere right smack in the middle of this entire tier list. So when we jump down below that to Don't Pass Me By, Don't Make Me Cry, we had Help, we had With the Beatles, we had Beatles for Sale. I threw Live at the Hollywood Bowl just above Beatles for Sale. And I think the only reason I did that is because the version of Things We Said Today on Live at the Hollywood Bowl makes that whole album worth it. Love that live version of that song. So it actually weaseled its way in between a couple of studio releases. I threw Anthology on this line because, yes, I agree with my younger version over here that there's a lot on there that kind of expands your knowledge of what the Beatles are, especially with some of that early stuff and the outtakes. Some of it does suffer because it is kind of like poorly recorded because it wasn't meant to be put onto an album. So the sound quality is kind of touch and go. So to a new listener, they might listen to it and be like, there's a lot of crap on here. It kind of sounds like garbage. And there's a reason for that. But if you're already working your way all the way down here, if you've got everything that's up here and down, and you end up finding yourself in that Don't Pass Me By category, Don't Pass By Anthology. It's a great set. It's a big listen. A lot of records. But it's a good set. Now, when we go below that, again, there's no such thing as a bad Beatles album. But there has to be a bottom line for me. And that is, Won't You Please Help Me. And that's where the original Yellow Submarine soundtrack landed for me. That's where I also put Let It Be Naked. Because honestly, I think if you have Let It Be, you've got a pretty damn good version of that album. You don't necessarily have to have Naked. And like I said, if you buy the box set for Let It Be, you're getting a lot of the same type of stuff from Naked. So if you get it, cool. If you really want to get that deep into the Beatles iceberg, Naked's down there on the bottom. I also put Hamburg down there only because, yes, the quality is kind of, it's shoddy. I think that if, with all the technology we have going on now, the way they're cleaning up the albums, if they were to do that with the Hamburg sessions, the live recordings, if Peter Jackson can get his hands on these, that would sound amazing. I'm looking forward to that if it ever happens. And if that were to happen, that record may actually go up significantly. But for right now, it's going to hold the bottom down there a little bit. I also put Live at the BBC down there only because, again, it's a live recording. It's a lot of the songs you can get on some of the other compilations or even on the studio albums, and you're going to get probably better versions on the studio albums. So BBC for me, it ranks a little lower. It's kind of tedious to listen to, and it's a lot of that really early stuff and a lot of covers. So if that's not what you're into, if you want to hear more Lennon, McCartney, Harrison compositions, probably stay away from BBC. But it is good to hear a band play live together and be that tight. I also put, I know he had it really high, he had it up there at the top, 1. And the only reason 1 is down here is because Red and Blue is up here. That's the only reason. I think 1 suffers from the fact that songs like Strawberry Fields Forever is not on that album. Honestly, of all the compilations that are on this list, the only one that you're going to get the studio version of Strawberry Fields Forever is the full version of Magical Mystery Tour or Red and Blue. It's not on any other of these compilations. So if songs like that are what really do it for you, you've got to really search out which compilations are the songs you want on. And I think even though all of those are number 1 hits on the 1 album, if you have Red and Blue, you're getting absolutely everything that's on 1. So it really depends on how much of a listen you want. If you get the full version of Red and Blue, you're talking 6 LPs, whereas 1 is only 2. So it's a little easier of a listen. You're not going to be flipping records constantly or listening for hours on end. But if hours on end of Beatles material is what you want, Red and Blue will do you just good. So this is my list of what I think young Beatles fans should listen to. Basically start here and then work your way down. But if you don't go anywhere other than right up here on the top, then you're going to be all right. You're going to get a lot of that great Beatles material. And I'll be honest with you, if you listen to this and you like this, you're going to want everything else. It's just going to flow naturally. And then you end up like me, and I have an entire piece of furniture over there that is full of nothing but Beatles records. So it's addictive. So to give another look, I'll take my ugly mug off the screen. There's my list, and there's what Parallax came up with, where With the Beatles is hiding behind him a little bit, but you can see John poking out there. There's his list. Again, very top heavy, but that's fine. This is why we did the video the way we did it, is because I kind of wanted a more honest viewpoint without him knowing exactly what I put. So, so what, any surprises for you?
There's one big surprise for me.
Okay.
I thought like Red and Blue would be more. I wouldn't say like they're like more mediocre songs, but like I would say that Red and Blue would be, yeah, their greatest hits, but I would, now that I know that Red and Blue basically has past masters and won songs on it, I would probably rank it higher.
Yeah. So I'll show you where I did my research on this. You probably can't read it. What I've got here is the colors, red and blue. The yellow is 1, and the black and gray are past masters. These down here are the only songs that are not on Red and Blue. Those off of Past Masters 1 and those 3 songs off Past Masters 2. All the yellow songs, which are on 1, are on either Red or Blue. So that's where I kind of, when I did the research on it, because I was kind of curious as to like, I know I've been listening to Red and Blue since I was younger than him. And I'm like, I know there's a lot of great songs on it. And this is off of the original Red and Blue. So the set that we showed earlier is the 2023 set, has even more songs on it. So there's potentially even some that are down here that were on Past Masters that are actually on the 2023 version as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so with the top, I would rearrange some of the stuff.
Okay.
I would put Red and Blue, first of all, above 1.
Okay.
And I would say because, well, hold on. Because Red and Blue have 1 and Past Masters, I would probably put 1 next to Past Masters. So put Magical Mystery Tour above 1.
Okay.
It's like that, yeah. And then I feel like everything else is where it should be with me. I would probably move Love up by 1, so it's above Anthology.
Okay, so move it like here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, because Let It Be Naked is just a stripped down version of Let It Be, I would move it to... It's maybe a shocker, but I'm probably going to move it below Help and above the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
And I feel like... You know what? Let's move Please Please Me above Yellow Submarine, actually. I feel like that's good.
I'm going to move you down a little bit. So we're moving what now?
So we're going to move Please Please Me above Yellow Submarine.
Okay.
Probably the same with Revolver as well. And I feel like that's good.
Okay. You're good with that list?
No, I'm good with that.
All right. So, for those of you out there watching, take a screenshot of that. You have Parallax and his list there. And if we look at old crusty channel 910, my list looks more like this. So the view of what a super fan old guy thinks the youngins should be listening to versus what the young people actually like. So, interesting. There are some similarities. He is obviously much more kind on the albums, putting a lot more at the top, which is fine. We do share a lot of similarities at the top. Three of my 4 top tier are in his top tier. So I had Sgt. Pepper, I had Hard Day's Night, and I had Red and Blue in the top. He also does, he has Hamburg rated the lowest, and it was also in my lowest tier. Wasn't the lowest, but it's down there. So there is some similarity here, but he definitely has his own list here. So interesting to see the Yellow Submarine at the very, very top. Very cool choice. So what would you guys do? What would your lists look like? What would you have at the top? What would you put near the bottom? And we say bottom because, I mean, it's got to be a bottom, but they're still good. So what would you do? How would your list look? Would you even bother with the bonus albums, or would you just stick with those studio albums? What are your thoughts? Are we completely off base? Do you think his list is better than mine? Do you think they match up pretty well? Or is it just different strokes, different folks, different generations like different things?
Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. You got to like and subscribe to Channel 910. You got to like and subscribe to Parallax. The information there is going to be down in the description. I'm going to go ahead and throw a link to the part 1 of this video series right up here. So make sure to check that out, guys. Share this with your Beatle buddies because I know, as being a Beatles fan myself for a long time, that we are a fickle bunch and we are definitely opinionated. So if we don't get comments on this, I know you guys are just being nice. Tell us what you think. Put it down there. Let us know. We're tough-skinned because, honestly, you're not changing my mind. And if he's anything like me, you're not changing his either.
Nope.
So until next time, my dudes, stay cool. We'll see you then.